Bobby Mesmer is an entrepreneur. He's been on the Inc. 5000 numerous times. He is part of the Titan 100. He is an expert at identifying gaps in markets and disrupting industries. He is the CEO of RMG Erectors and Constructors. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
George, thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on. Tell us a little about your personal life, more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Wow, that's a loaded question, right? Personal life, I don't know. I live a boring personal life, if you ask me. It's all based around work, right? That's what we do. So as an entrepreneur, my life is really based around, creating this empire that I've started to create 25 years ago and just kind of building upon that. And don't get me wrong, like I do take a lot of time for myself. I have a very happily married wife to my wife Sharon, and we have two boys, and 17 and 20, and so we try to keep it exciting, but they know what they get out of me. After all this time, they know that that work is work, and but I also make the time as needed, and we go on vacation and stuff. But so yeah, really boring personal life. Jump on the bike, I ride motorcycles, I collect classic cars, and fly airplanes and do all that kind of stuff. And I actually got a little bit burnt this past weekend on my arms. I was down on the bike down in Tennessee and taking a nice little cruise. So that was nice. So that's where I get my relaxing time in.
Nice.
As far as business, yeah, I mean, RMG Erectors, been in business for 25 years, have grown the company to be the largest pre-engineered specialty erection firm in the entire world. We're the only company in our market segment that is doing engineering, detailing, fabrication, erection, all of that in house. That's controlling 100% of that in house, and so that's that's a big thing. We vertically integrated our company, and we're continuing that integration to be more to continue to grow that and to take on more market control. We're in tune to be $1 billion company in the next couple of years, and we'll be the first $1 billion erection firm that ever existed in the United States and in North America.
And why do you do all that?
Why? Well, it's when you start a business, you start it for selfish reasons, right? I think everybody does. I think everybody, puts yourself in a position. It's like, I want to make more money and I want to do it. And so there's no virtuous nature to starting a business. You don't go into it with wanting to help people and all that. It takes time to get to that point. And I've made that shift. I've been in business for so long, and I've gotten past the point of like wanting to do it for myself, where now it's legacy. I want to build the legacy. I'm some magazine articles and all have recently compared me to the modern day Carnegie. Where we're going as a business, and it's a hell of an honor, and so that's a legacy, right? That's a legacy that we're trying to create. That's a legacy that we're trying to put in place, and then we're trying to help people. Employ more people. Be more active. And um, be more active in what we're doing as a business and in our communities. Be more active in our employment and hiring people. Get more. Take care of our employees better. Take a lot of pride in the way that we hire our employees. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we pay all of our employees more than even the national average in our industry. So that's a big thing. So that's what we're doing it for. We want to leave a fingerprint. Like after I'm done and I sell or I expire, my life expires here at some point. I want people to look back and be like, you know what? They really did something. They really changed the mold, and it takes that time, until I retire or until I'm not doing it anymore. That's when people start to pay attention, right? When you think about the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, and all that, while they were doing it, they were enemies of the state. They were enemies of the people. People hated them because they had so much money, this and that. After they left is when people created value in what they did, because then there was an appreciation because they weren't there to do it anymore. And so that's what we want to leave. I want to leave that legacy there where people, yeah, they're not appreciating me today, possibly, but they will appreciate me, when I'm done and gone.
So thank you for all that and congratulations on the success. Certainly. You go from like I appreciate many people and myself included, you want to start a business because you don't want a job. You need to earn money. You want freedom and flexibility and all that stuff. When does the shift happen? Where you realize, oh, I've reached critical mass and now it's about more than just me.
I would say that it's different for everybody. I think, but I think the commonality of that question comes into when people hit a milestone where their finances are more like sustained, right? Everybody works all the time, and you're working whether you're collecting a paycheck or you're in business. When you're in business, you're still collecting a paycheck. You're still working for somebody. You're still doing something for somebody, right? We all have people to answer to, and at the end of the day, like when you start a business, you're trying to hit milestones. So like, oh, I want to hit my first million. I want to hit my next first 5 million, my first 10 million. And when you start to really make money and you have money left over at the end of the year, but you're content in yourself, and that contentment, you find like, well, I don't really need anything anymore, so what should I do here? I have resources now. What should I do? Because and so that's where the shift happens, because you start looking at how you can help other people. And some people make the mistake too. They look outside of their organization and they help outside first. I like to look inside of the organization. The people that have helped get us to where we are, I feel like it's very important. Look there first before you look outside. Take care of the people that are taking care of you every day. They're very important to you. You can say it, but words without action means nothing. And so, so you have to be able to, look inside first, which is what we do. And we try to, take care of our family as a company first and all the people here. And then we go outside and say, okay, what can we do, outside of that? So it's just that I think it's that shift in that time of being content and finding contentment in yourself. And you're never content when you're growing the business, but you find contentment in the money aspect of it. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm blessed. I have an overabundance, and what can I do? What more can I do to help less people and to give them the blessings that I'm getting?
It sounds so obvious when you say that. And I'm thinking, well, that's something we should all do as individuals is let's look inside of ourselves before we start trying to fix the rest of the world. And it's true for organizations. I think it's true for governments and everything else. So was that you found the contentment, you found security, and then you realize, well, I need to just make sure that everybody that's part of our family is also getting everything that they want out of this. So I think that that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, look, not everybody thinks that way. Everybody wants to keep it for themselves, but like, I mean, look, if I have what I want, I can't spend what I have. Like so, and again, it goes back to the other side too. Like nobody wants to pay taxes and all that too. So it's like, so you're like, look, if I can help somebody, and then in turn that's helping me, because that's what it is. There is no selfishness in helping. A lot of people misconstrued that. No, it's there's no selfishness there. Like you have to be like, and what I mean by that is you have to, like, help is selfish. You know what I mean? Like there's always your reason why you're helping somebody, right? And as well as it should be. That's okay. And so, but like it's just to look at it and say like, I can't spend what I have, so why should I give it to, say, per se, the government, right? And let them go waste my money when I can give it to somebody who can really use it and utilize it, and hopefully that, like I said, that gives them the opportunity to extend their life or make different decisions, or make, or have, you never know what somebody's going through. Maybe it just catapults them into something that like just changes their whole world. And that's, whether I know that or not, but that's a blessing that'll come back around to me, through that support.
So you mentioned that you're paying at the top, if not much higher than other companies in your industry, and you are on track to be $1 billion company and far and away the largest in the space that y'all occupy. So you are rewarding your people financially. How else are you thinking about that? Just is it one off? Like, well, how can you help? Is it training? Is it kind of tell me about how you're creating this great culture?
Yeah, it's all of that. I think it's all the steps that you do as a business owner, right? You're obligated as a business owner, and you're charged with making the right decisions every day. And that's not just for yourself. I work for the company just like everybody else does. The company is its own living, breathing thing. And that's how you have to treat it. And so for me, I'd like to lead by example. So get into it with the people, know what their jobs are, have an understanding of it so when I go to them and I talk to them, I can advise them in the best way possible. So they're, through the understanding of what their actual specific job is. Doesn't matter who it is in the organization. It could be the guys in the field who are just starting and carrying certain material to the guys that are setting up rigging stations. Like, you've got to know the work. And when you're out there, they respect the leader. They're going to follow the leader and respect him more when he knows what he's doing, and he's taking the time or the minute to say, hey, maybe instead of this, try it like this, and understanding that. And then it goes, again, having an understanding with your people, being available to them. A lot of business leaders try not to make themselves available to the people around them or the people within the organization. And I think that's a huge mistake. We have multiple offices. We have three in the US, one in Costa Rica. So we have four offices, all together. And every time I go to those offices, I make time for everybody there. I literally this morning was the first day this week in the New Jersey office, which is where I'm at now. And the first thing I do, walk around with my cup of coffee and go see everybody in this office. Literally everybody. Stop and see everybody. How you doing? How was your weekend? What's going on? And big question, what do you need from me? What is it that you need from me? What can I help you with today? And that goes a long way. Most of the time, they're going to say nothing. But the goal is that they have comfort in knowing that I'm there for them. I'm not just sitting in my office and saying, don't bother me. I'm the boss, and you know what you got to do. Like that's just the wrong way. So that breeds the culture. Everybody knows open door policy. Everybody knows that you're accessible and that you're here to help and you're here to give advice. And then just like things that I feel like it lacks, and like company happy hours, company parties, like this Thursday, like we shut down for the holiday, Friday and Monday, the Memorial Day weekend coming up. And but Thursday afternoon we're shutting down, I think at like 2 o'clock, here in the New Jersey office, and they're having a happy hour and barbecue. So we're cooking out, and and that's just camaraderie. Everybody just gets to hang out, have a few drinks, eat some hot dogs and hamburgers, and just have a good time with each other. And again, that breeds a culture with people where it's different. Not a lot of companies do that because I don't want to be liable for it, or it just creates the wrong impression. What wrong impression can you create by eating a hamburger and having a beer with one of your coworkers? I just don't understand that. So I think it's all of those things together. And the last thing part of that is what I call the we factor. It's this is us. So when I speak a lot, I talk a lot about we, who we are. And when I even speak to people, I talk in kind of like the third person a little bit. Well, we decided to do this. Well, we decided because it's us as a team. It's not just me. Yeah, it's my name on the door. Yeah, the buck ends with me, but we're all part of getting it done. So like it's the we factor, and people engage in that because now they feel like you're part of it, and people want to be held accountable. And so part of that I'm able to hold them accountable, but they love to be held accountable. people inherently want to be held accountable in what they're doing to feel like they're part of that team.
Well, I certainly love that, and it doesn't happen on accident that if you just randomly start walking around and talking to people that you'd never talked to before, and you're like, "Hey, how can I help?" We're like, "What in the world is going on here? Am I about to be fired?" But you fostered in a culture where that's just what you do, and you want to know. And so when people have something on their mind, they're comfortable actually saying it to you.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, and I think that's important for anybody. I think every leader needs to do that. I think they're very disconnected, and I see it in. I do a lot of business coaching, a lot of CEO coaching and mentoring, um, and and I see it in businesses that are small up to Fortune 500 companies, and the CEOs that I've coached are so disconnected. And they can't figure out, like, well, I have this operational issue, and I'm like, well, do you know what's going on there? Well, no, but that's why I have Jerry. And I'm like, yeah, but if you don't know, how does he know, like, how are you guiding him through expectation? How does he know what your vision is if you're not guiding him of what you believe and where he should be going? And they're so disconnected. I'm like, okay, so do you know what Jerry does every day? And they're like, no. And I'm like, like this guy, and I'm going to tell you, like, Jerry looks at you and laughs at you. Like, I literally tell CEOs that. I'm like, he looks at you and laughs at you when you come to him and you want to try to conduct him because he knows that you have no idea what you're doing or what he's doing. So he's like, what, you want to tell me what to do? You've never done my job. That's the disconnection. And I feel like that's where all these companies have a major problem, as they continue to grow and as they continue to move on. Like, all the hiccups you see in all these companies that they're having problems, it's because they're hiring paper CEOs, they're hiring, middle management, VPs and executives who are managing the people that are getting it done, but they didn't work their way up through the company. And so the people who are actually getting it done in the grind have zero respect for the upper level, and that's where that huge disconnect comes in.
Yeah, that's probably not going to be a thriving organization, is it?
No, no. But some of these companies, they get so big, they like they just can't help it. Like, right, like Coca-Cola, right? Like, I like to pick on Coca-Cola because they've been around the test of time, but their CEOs are idiots. You know what I mean? And they have no idea what's going on through the course of their entire company. They think that they do, but they don't. They're just paper CEOs. They're just like, hey, who's the most qualified person that the board loves that we can put in this place and pay $20 million a year for the next 2 years or 3 years to make us look good, as opposed to, hey, what can we do to build the company culture? And a company like Coca-Cola, they're multi-billion-dollar a year company. You can't kill them. They have so much minutia. It doesn't matter. You see what I mean? But you bet your ass if everybody stopped drinking Coke because of some issue, they're going to start thinking about, wow, what do we got to do now? And you're seeing it in certain companies right now. There's a lot of companies that are having real big issues because they got the wrong CEOs, the wrong leaders in place. Family Dollar. I mean, Family Dollar just hired a brand new CEO. They've had their slew of issues. But again, they hired a high profile CEO. Like, is he going to do a good job or not? I don't know. But did he come up in the company? No. Does he know the culture? No. He's going to act like he does, but there's a disconnect that's going to be there. And I still think they're going to have a problem.
I love everything about that. I don't love that Family Dollar is doing a bad job. I don't love that Coca-Cola has a BS CEO, but it certainly makes all the sense in the world when we're so disconnected from the actual work and from the
Mhm.
point of the whole thing. Why would a CEO be effective if they're so far removed or we're
Mhm.
never there in the first place?
Yeah. I don't understand it, but again, it goes to show the companies that are more involved in shareholder stake than they are in culture stake.
Yeah.
And that's what it is about. It just shifts to be about money anymore. And that's the problem. And I just think that it needs to change. Culture is a huge thing in any company. I don't care if you have 5 employees or 5,000 employees. If you don't have the buy-in from the people and they're loving what they're doing every day, then you have a problem no matter what.
Can you unring that bell if you catch yourself and realize, oh, I've done such a good job growing this company, but I feel pretty disconnected from the folks because we've got 10 offices or 20 offices, or how can you sort of put the toothpaste back in the tube, if that's possible.
Yeah, I think it's a 50-50 shot, you know. I think you're playing roulette in that case. I think if the leader who created the business and who grew the company, if he's still there, and a lot of his people who grew with him are still there, and that this connection has happened, I feel like you can mend that and bring it back because they know who that person is. And there's still a level of, well, he did start this business, he did start this and bring it up to where we are. I think if you're a company who's got shareholders and you're the second CEO that they've hired in the last 8 years or whatever, no. I think you're the only way to bring it back is to put somebody in place from within the organization who's been there for 20 years, and then let that person bring the culture back. You'll never get it back with somebody else at the helm who wasn't there from the beginning. And I think you can try, but it's never going to happen. Never.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So do you have a sense of when you're going to be done? Do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, if ask my wife that question, she wants me done tomorrow. Yeah. you
How's
know,
3 o'clock today, Bobby?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I always said when I'm 55, so I'm 49 this year, and so I got 6 years left, and so 55, I want to sell this. So we're already moving that in process. Now, does that mean I'm done? I don't know that that means I'm done. I think, I mean, the company of this size and what I'm doing, and the caliber, they're probably going to want to hold me in. It's going to be a large venture capital group that's going to buy me, which again, I'm welcoming offers now for everybody who's listening out there. But it's going to be a large capital group that's going to want to buy me, and I think they're going to try to hold me on, which is probably not a bad idea for a couple of years and give me something to do. But I'm already lining up my retirement plan, because at 55, it's like, what am I going to do retired at 55? Like, like I don't play golf. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, you can only do so much, right? So I think what I'm doing, well, I know what I'm doing is I'm already out there on the public speaking. So I'm a professional speaker. I'm doing a lot more stuff like this, like with you, with podcasts, and a lot of information from business and success and failure, and where I'm currently in the process of getting started writing a book, and then I'm doing a lot more mentoring and business coaching, CEO coaching, and operational assistance. I'm an operational expert, so I can come into companies, look at them, and say, they're trying to get over a hump, or they're having issues, or bleeding out money. I can come in and with a new set of eyes and look at it and kind of set you on a path. And so that's going to be my retirement game, which I think is a great game for me. I think, I'm finding success in it now, and as I move forward, I'm going to continue to find good success in that, because people want to hear what I have to say, and they love the fact that, like, I don't just talk about my successes. Like, I'm a big person about failure. I love the failure routine, and because I feel like it's so important to growth in every aspect of your life, personally, professionally. And so for me, I focus on the failures where everybody else wants to, like, kind of shove them under the rug a little bit. And people kind of relate to that. They want to know, like, because, I think people are getting sick and tired of the social media and stuff like that, where everybody's like, well, I made $1 million this year, and I did this and I did that. Well, now they're starting to see that it's all bullshit. Nobody really makes that kind of money. They're just putting it out there, and, they're living, like, so I think people want the realness within somebody to come out and be like, yeah, listen, yeah, here's where I'm at today. But, 10 years ago, I took a major hit. Bet you didn't know that. 4 years ago, I had a heart attack and a stroke. Last year, I had another brain stroke. But here I am. I'm still going. So guess what? If I can, you can. And people want that. People relate to that.
No doubt about it. Well, you've got an incredible story. I appreciate everything that you've done and look forward to keeping tabs on you and see what you're going to do. So thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? What's the best way to engage?
Yeah, thanks for having me, George. Yeah, the people can follow me on LinkedIn, Bobby Mesmer on LinkedIn, Bobby Mesmer on TikTok, and Bobby Mesmer on Instagram. That's the best place, and you'll see the day in the life of me every single day.
Love it. Well, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Bobby your appreciation. Share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. You can find Bobby on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram, and I will link all of those in the notes of the show. Thanks again, Bobby.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it.
Till next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.